This video will show you 3 ways to stop forcing manifestations. I'm going to share with you ways to go about this, ways to reframe it so that you're able to allow things to happen in your life rather than force them. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, we're going to be looking at the whole process of manifestation and understanding how we can allow things to happen rather than force things to happen. Now this has a lot to do with the energy that we're coming forth with. It's the idea that it's not necessarily what we say, but it's the way that we say it. It's not necessarily what we're doing, but it's the energy underneath what we're doing that will indicate whether we are forcing something to happen. Now, I was reading the book that I've been sharing with you guys called Reality Transurfing, and it talks in there about how many times we may be forcing the universe to do things. We might be, in a way, metaphorically speaking, putting our hands at the throat of the universe, desperately trying to get what we want. And what I wanted to do was, in this video, to share with you 3 ways that you can transcend that so that you're able to actually allow things to happen rather than trying to hold the neck of the universe, metaphorically speaking. So the first one has to do with the details, and it has to do with the rules that we have towards our manifestation and how we think it should come to us. Now, there's this common conception in the law of attraction community that the more details we have, the better. Now, the details, it needs to be clear though why we have the details. Why would we visualize the details of what we want to create in our life? Most people think it's because we actually want whatever details we're focused on to manifest into our life. Now, this is the game changer if you really allow this to set in. The details are there in your mind to think of to bring you to a certain state of being so that you then are able to allow those things to happen into your life. So whereas most people assume that visualization is to get something, we are visualizing to get that to come into our life experience, it's more so about understanding that visualization gets us to the state of being that is conducive of what we want to experience, and in that state of being, if we trust the process, we allow things to happen. Now, also many times we're going to give ourselves certain rules that when this happens, I will feel a certain way. This has to do with a lot of times also just how we feel in a daily basis. Are we giving ourselves permission to feel the way that we prefer? Or are we saying that, hey, when I hit this milestone, I can give myself permission to feel a certain way? Well, this is a game changer I had when I realized this actually on a flight coming back from Costa Rica. Now, it's going to sound kind of random, maybe not even really kind of related, but I was on a flight coming back and I realized that in the present moment, I was feeling resistance because the lady next to me, I had a window seat, the lady next to me, she fell asleep and her hand was all the way over my arm rail. And I was laying there, or I was sitting there and I was like, should I wake her up? Should I kind of like nudge her away so that I actually had space? Because I felt like it was kind of invading my space. Then I looked over and she was just dead, like she was asleep. Her mouth was open, she was just totally knocked out, asleep. What I did is I realized that in that moment, I was giving myself a rule. I was giving myself some type of expectation that I could feel happy if. It was a expectation dependent on the outer reality of what was happening. What I did in that moment is I decided, why do I have this rule? Why can't I just allow myself to be happy in the present moment, regardless if someone's hand is over my arm rail and into my space? And the moment I did that was the moment I felt a release. I felt like I started to allow. And this is the funny paradox. The moment that I started to feel that way, it was kind of an epiphany. I didn't even care if she moved her hand because I started to realize I could feel good just because. The moment I got to that state of being, she woke up and moved her hand over. So it's kind of a funny type timing of it. But the idea behind it is to not be giving yourself so many rules for your state of being to be a certain way, for you to feel a certain way. Understand that you will create what you want in your life when you are in a higher state of being, when you're feeling better. Now, this is also why it's so important for you to follow your purpose, follow your passion. What are you excited about? Because when you follow that, you are in a high vibe state and you are more likely to allow things to happen in your life because you're actually resonating with your authentic self on how you prefer to be. So one of the ways that you take the hands off the throat of the universe is you stop giving yourself so many rules as to when you could feel a certain way. Start to follow your passion. Understand that as you do that, you are resonating with the highest level reality of what you want to experience. And as you begin to do that, you'll see that things start to happen for you rather than you having to do everything. Realize also that the visualization process is something that you do to get yourself to a certain state of being. Not the visualization is going to get you the outcome. We must not be attached to the outcome. We must be more focused in the present moment, doing what we love, having it knowing in the background that what we want will come to fruition, but we must trust the universe more so than anything else. Now, the second way that we can stop putting our hands at the throat of the universe, metaphorically speaking, is by understanding outer intention. Now, this is from the book called Reality Transurfing that I've been sharing with you guys a lot. It's a book, just to give a little bit of context, it's a book that was written in Russian by a Russian quantum physicist. It's a book that's now being translated to many different languages. It's becoming a more and more popular book. It very well, I think, combines Eastern philosophy with the Western ideas of reality creation when it comes to the law of attraction. But what it really takes into play is understanding how powerful intention is. Now, first off, let me just say, make intentions. Make more intentions on your daily life. Make intentions that you follow up with. The main part of reality transurfing that is absolutely a game changer is learning to decrease the importance of what you're intending to manifest. So many times we put our manifestations of what we want on a pedestal. The moment we put it on a pedestal is the moment we re-emphasize that it's more important than it has to be. Then what we create is something called excess potential. It's that excess potential then brings in balancing forces that then balance it out so that we don't get it because it's balancing out that energy because we're making it more important than it is. Now, this is also why desire is only powerful if it is translated into intention or action. And that's why what we must do is follow our passion and do what we love. Now, another part of this is understanding outer intention with the book Reality Transurfing. Now, outer intention is understanding that we may have a desire to intend for something. We might have our inner will. That's our inner intention, what we can take action with and do. Now, outer intention is the intention to have. It's understanding that there are an infinite number of parallel realities exist. He was a quantum physicist, so this, it makes sense that he explained this. It's called the alternative space. Anything you can imagine exists. The idea is to focus on the outcome and to feel as if you already have it. Now, this is something that's also shared in a lot of law of attraction books. Now, think of it like this. This is the analogy I've been using, and I think it illustrates the point very well. Instead of you trying to attract someone into your life, realize that there is somebody else that wants to attract you into their life. That may be a part of an outer intention, that may be a part of a larger scheme of things, and when you start to do that, you start to let the universe manifest for you. Now, this means that there's a larger order to the universe in a way. Think of it like anytime we team up with other people, our thoughts have an electromagnetic energy to it, a reality to it, and when we team up with other people, our thoughts combine and we create a layer over the reality that we live in, and those layers are called pendulums in the book, and the idea is that those continue to maintain its own level of autonomy. Those thought structures want to remain. So many times we think we're having our own thought structures or our own thoughts, but in reality, we are absorbing the thoughts of the collective. Now, this is why it becomes important for you to have your own intention, for you not to just kind of be following other people's intention on what you think you should have. And when you start to really understand this, you'll see that there's also a larger scope of the universe, and that the universe may want to manifest through you rather than you only have to do inner intention. It's about inner intention and outer intention. So focus on outer intention by understanding you can have the ability, intention to have something because it already exists right now. That reality already exists. And understand that you can trust the process because the universe wants to manifest through the process. Now, another part of this is understanding that with outer intention comes our beliefs about how the universe works, the beliefs about how life works in general. If we have beliefs that say things happen very rough. You have to really work for it. If you have these limiting beliefs, what happens is even though we might be intending for something, we might be wanting something consciously, trying to force it to happen, it won't actually happen unless we align on the story that we tell ourselves, the definitions we have to that. So I have a lot of videos on this, on understanding how to align our definitions with who we are, how our beliefs create our reality. So what I would recommend that you do is you start to just become aware of what definitions you have. As you become aware of what definitions you have, definitions are the beliefs that we have. It's saying words like, reality just isn't, reality isn't easily formed for me. Like, things don't happen easily for me. When you say that, that's a definition, and that definition creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. It continues to reflect itself back. Think of life in a way like a mirror. It's always reflecting back to us what we believe to be true. And if we have definitions that say, I'm only capable of doing this, well, then that will be the reality. That will be what we take action to. That will be how we feel. That will be how we remain consistent to. So become aware of what that is and decide to let go of simply what does not serve. Now, the third way that we are forcing the universe has to do with letting go of control, of understanding the influence of our ego. So think of this in the way like we think it's our ego's job to do everything. And because we do that, we kind of obsess over the details, kind of similar to the first one, right? This is about understanding what the job of your ego is. The job of your ego is to focus. The job of your ego is to have and to take action, but to understand that you don't have to become identified with your ego. Now, right now, let's do a little exercise. Understand that what you can do is you can have the thoughts that you're thinking. You can react to what your mind is thinking, but there's another perspective that's even more powerful. Now, this perspective is the ability to observe what your reactive mind is thinking. Right now, think and don't think. Just become aware. Observe the next thought that comes into your mind. Allow that thought to be there. Don't try to control it. Just observe the next thought that comes into your mind. You see, as you do this, what you do is you shift your awareness from the reactive mind into the observation mind. Now, with reality transurfing especially, what I'm learning is that rather than trying to put this basis as to what I want to create, say I feel on average maybe a 6 out of 10, thinking that a 6 out of 10 is normally how I feel, my manifestation is going to make me feel a 9 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, what we immediately do is we immediately begin to put this high expectation as to how we have to feel, and it becomes something that's much harder to connect to. Now, this is why what I recommend is actually creating from more of an observation point of view. If you learn how to observe your thoughts, you will learn how to observe the thoughts that are trying to force the situations to happen. And as you observe those thoughts, you can choose not to identify yourself with them. You can choose not to know that that isn't who you have to be and how you have to go about the situation. Remember, your job is to take action, is to follow your passion. The ego's job is to focus, to have intention, but it's not to do absolutely everything. The other side of the coin is allowing the outer intention to happen, to allow the universe to help manifest. And when you do that, you take all the luggage that you might be carrying on your back, you put it down on the floor, and you can move around so much freely. The luggage that was on your back was the belief that you had to do everything, that the ego is in charge to do everything. That's identification with the ego, and this is why one of the most powerful things you can learn to do is to observe what you are thinking and how the ego is working. Don't resist the ego in the sense, there's books that come out, it's like ego's the enemy. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that perspective, and I'm not even saying that's a bad book. What I'm saying, though, is that we must also have the awareness that our ego is something that we have in our life. And if we resist it, we're resisting a part of ourselves. Now, we don't have to become identified with the ego, but what we can learn to do is to observe it, to get to know it, rather than trying to control it, rather than thinking it's always in charge and thinking that it has to do absolutely everything. So this process is something that when you start to do, you will actually allow things to happen. And when you allow things to happen, it's like things are just happening for you. It's like you feel more excited to do what you're doing because you aren't actually forcing it. You're not, metaphorically speaking, having the neck of the universe and trying to force those things. Now, another part of this process is understanding how to raise your vibrational set point. When you raise your vibrational set point, you start to create from a higher level paradigm. So what I did is I created a free MP3 that you can download below. This MP3 is a newer one. Normally I give away my subconscious mind one. This one's specifically designed for you to raise your vibrational set point so that you feel better a majority of the time and that you're able to create from a higher level paradigm. So this means that you're going to be able to feel and understand how to increase your state of being. I use NLP, a couple different techniques in there. It's something I think is very powerful. I've been getting very great feedback from you guys since I released it maybe a week ago. So I encourage you guys to download that below. It's absolutely free. Listen to it for 21 days to get the full benefits out of it, and it will be in the description box below. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you guys liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification gear next to the subscribe button so that you guys can see the daily vids that I do. And as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, and namaste.